What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Inside the Lines. Happy Friday. A full slate of NBA games today. We're getting very close to the end of the regular season here. We'll answer any MLB questions in the chat as well. No Jake, but me, Derek, and Steven will do our best to help you guys with those. See Big Cheesy Ari's on Nerfi Friday. We love to see it. We love to see it. But we're going to focus on this NBA slate as things wind down here with the regular season. We'll take a look back at yesterday. Not a bad day for Steven here. A little 3-1 night for the team. We've been doing good in this final stretch here.
Yeah, but I broke my, when I did that analysis of what picks were performing well and what were bad, blocks was bad. And for some reason, I forgot that I shouldn't do block over unders. Although I do have one for today, but it's like minus 205, so I can't lose or something. So, but yeah, that's not my fault. I should have remembered that. Or you should have remembered that, Mackenzie, that no more block overs.
Yeah. Okay. I'll remember that now. But when we get into playoffs, things are going to get different. We're only going to have so many options here. But going into playoffs, we're going to have our S list and our security blanket list, and then we'll start to see who makes it through playoffs.
Yeah. In preparation, I have two players, and we'll get to them, that I am giving one last chance, if to deliver for me, because they've cost me twice in a row at least.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get right to it. We're going to just go through this entire slate of NBA games. Again, any questions, put them in the chat. We have time for the questions today. Certainly any baseball questions as well. Derek and Steven will do their best to answer. So let's head over to the model here. Now we'll briefly touch on Chicago headed to Washington. Just a funky game. We don't have too much value here. Not too many lines really posted. And who knows what Chicago is really feeling motivation-wise in this game.
Yeah, with the line steaming from -3 to Washington -2, then it's a safe assumption that DeRozan, Vucevic, a lot of them are probably going to sit. Washington, the only line I saw post maybe 30 minutes ago was Jordan Poole's, and we didn't have any specific value on any there except for under on turnovers, and I wouldn't take that. I wouldn't trust it.
Yeah. All right, well, let's go to a game we have a little more confidence here with some motivation. Orlando headed to Philadelphia. Philly's 7.5-point home favorites here. Now, Philly, a team that should be trying their best, trying to get out of this play-in spot. Orlando also fighting too. We're going to look to the big guy here.
Yeah, so Joel Embiid, I think it's a prime case to get back to where he was. I know he's listed as iffy, but when is he not really? Assuming he does play, he should have his normal output, which for most of the year has been a ridiculous, 35-point average. There's still a little buy low value because since he's returned from his long absence, it took a few games for him to crack 35, but he did it. He scored like 24 and 29 in reduced minutes, had 37 his last game. So I love and I got to have it, try to chance to catch Orlando in the standings, that he'll have his 37 points.
I know on the other side of the ball, we're looking at Orlando here. It's coming off two pretty tough losses. I'm wondering if regression to the mean for any of these players is like they've been putting up massive field goal attempts, massive three-point attempts that aren't hitting, that maybe it's time they actually do. Maybe like our guy, Franz Wagner.
Yeah, we're projecting right around his PRA, but he's missed 2 games. I don't know what his status is. He has lines his lines were posted, so I assume that means he's going to play.
Okay. Yeah, I guess it might be a sticky situation here. Some of these games are sticky. Big Cheesy's saying the NBA stinks right now. Well, we have about 2,000 more MLB games for the summer, so let us live in our NBA world while we can. Franz Wagner, questionable. Good to know there. But maybe good spot to look out for some Orlando player props in general, considering the tough 2 losses they've had. They've got to play a little bit better, I think. Let's move on to Charlotte, headed to Boston. Despite Boston having no motivation, we're still looking at 7-point home favorites here. Was Derek White good to us the other night? I don't remember. I think I have
No. He had 9 points.
You're right. You're right.
Yeah, but the good thing is NBA. Yes, I don't think it stinks because we've had 3 profitable days in a row. So whenever that happens, it's never bad.
Fair. You're not on the S list if the day is profitable in general.
This is another game where we assume that Boston played their players, the other night against Milwaukee and got New York. And they got thrashed pretty good. So their motivation is not there. So I would not believe the model value, but it is Charlotte, so they're pretty bad. Let me see. Sorry. What's going on with this going on? My little thingamajobber here. I know off the top of my head, the pick that I had was Brandon Miller. over 1.5 turnovers. It was juiced probably at a pretty high number, at minus 150. I told you I
Mhm.
might go a little conservative with with some hopefully locks. I want to guarantee myself a nice healthy profit. I looked at it, it's like over 10 units since February.
There we
So
go.
Brandon Miller over 1.5. He's been scoring a ton. He's been getting the ball in his hands a lot. Him and Trey Man, obviously. So he had a killer dunk the other day, which was really impressive. So I just think that with any kind of situation where you're going to have heavy usage, that the turnovers will come. And
Mhm.
he's been again solid overs for most of the season.
Any thoughts here on Brunson, his point prop at 31.5? We got someone in the chat looking at the under potentially.
For the Knicks.
Oh, sorry. I just completely went ahead.
Oh,
We're going to
oh
Brooklyn
yeah,
headed to
okay.
Boston here.
Under 31.5. We have 31 points, so it's not a strong lean, I guess. We
Mhm.
pretty much have the same value. I'm hoping my thing doesn't. Yeah, okay. Okay, I screwed something up where it thinks that it's on
It's
brand.
alright. I can throw 'em up there for you.
No, I got him right here. I just put the wrong game for the Brandon Miller pick.
Uh-huh.
So this is one I love. DiVincenzo, I got twice this week. Once the other day, the line was only 6.5. So you see, it's ticked up a whole one. And the reason being is because it has to do with Brunson. Brunson's been on a ridiculous scoring tear. So DiVincenzo has been getting more assists. Like last season, when he played with Golden State and a high scoring point guard like Steph, he averaged right around 8 rebounds and assists, 3.5 assists. It's been down almost to 2.5 this season. So the last month or so, he's been playing more like he did for the last 2 seasons, where he was averaging 8 rebounds and assists. So I kind of see the Knicks are getting back to that dynamic with Brunson is being the scoring machine, and other
Mhm.
guys, and with OG back, you have DiVincenzo actually playing a lot of kind of a more of a point guard role sometimes, and he's active on the boards again. So again, he's delivered to me twice this week, once with over an assist and once with over in rebounds and assists. And I think
Put it
that,
all together.
yeah, I think that he had a big game against Brooklyn last time, just recently on March 23rd.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, he's been good to us, just getting a bunch of minutes, getting a bunch of opportunities for just about everything on the court, so I'm all over the DiVincenzo overs. I like that play. We'll head over to Indiana, headed to Cleveland here. The Cavs are 3-point home favorites here. Early steam, I'd say, to the Pacers, but nothing too crazy.
Yeah.
They've played a lot this season, it seems, and Indiana won 4 of the last 5.
Yeah, well,
Or
Indiana's just been playing better. I mean, Indiana, whereas Cleveland, they haven't had a quality win in a while. They beat Memphis, but Memphis, their lineup is ridiculous right now. But
Mhm,
Cleveland lost mostly on the road, but they lost to any playoff teams they played recently. They've lost badly
mhm,
in a lot of cases. So that's why the steam is probably on Indiana's side. I'm gonna go with, so this is my one more chance, one of my one more chance players, Pascal Siakam,
mhm.
because his average in assists is well over 4, and yeah, it did drop from around 5 in Toronto to a little over 4 in Indiana. But still, this number's down to 2.5 at minus 155, which is not so bad.
Mhm.
So he does average, so just on this road split between both the full season, it's 80%, right? There's buy low value. He only has 11 total assists his last 5 games. But so we talked about these weird trends. We look at other players of similar production have done in this situation. And yesterday it was 2-1. So we'll consider that our start
Yeah.
to this trend. Forwards who average this many assists, 2.5 to 4. They average just 2.9 at home versus Cleveland, but they average 3.8 at Cleveland.
Mhm. We got some Cavs questions in the chat here. We'll start with
Mhm.
Levert. His point prop total is 13.5.
We are projecting 14, a little nearly 14 and a half, because he's been, you know, being pretty aggressive offensively. I think Mitchell, is still probably slow from his injury. I mean, he had 29-point game his last game, but he had some, he was not looking himself. And then Darius
Mhm.
Garland went to that stretch where he's broken out of it, but he went that stretch where he was not confident. And and Levert kind of, came in. He's always confident, even when he shouldn't be.
Love that for him.
Yeah.
Shouldn't we all be that way?
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. What about Jared Allen here? His point prop 17.5, potentially looking at the under here.
We have 17.2, so we would lean under as well.
Okay. We don't disagree. That's all that
Mm-hmm.
matters. All right, let's move on to the next game here. We'll go to the Lakers headed to Memphis. Wow, that should be interesting. Lakers 15.5 point road favorites here
Yeah, I mean,
against
the
this
Memphis.
interesting Memphis roster.
Yeah, it's interesting, but I mean, Laravia, he was a monster the other night. He-
Yeah.
so, and then Scottie Pippen's been really good to me with the steals, but I think his numbers been bumped up so high, so there's no longer value. Gigi should score around 20. So, the Grizzlies are a tough team to bet on. So I'm gonna go with Gigi just because they don't have anybody else to play. So you got to assume his minutes will be there. The ball will be in his hands. He's averages plenty of turnovers. You do have some kind of buy low value. He's only had one turnover his last two games, but over the
Mhm.
last month when they have this lineup that's been really depleted, the over is 9-6, and he does average considerably more turnovers at home.
Right. Yeah, it's so funny that Derek in the chat's telling us the list of Grizzlies that should be playing because
Yeah.
that's probably the smaller list than the Grizzlies that aren't playing here.
Oh, it's crazy
Uh,
looking. Yeah,
yeah,
it's bizarre.
yeah. All right, well, let's move on here. Denver headed to San Antonio here. We're looking at Mr. Wemby, an old faithful here with the 5.5 blocks and steals.
Yeah, just to prove that I'm not a slave to my own creation, I am fading the model. I'm not.
Well,
I can be impulsive. I can be a little crazy, and unpredictable as well. But model has was 4.7. I realize we've never probably projected an over in Wembanyama block and steal because he's so different than anything that we've
we
ever
don't know.
dealt
We
with
don't know how to
before.
handle them yet.
So
Yeah.
it's kind of like screwing with our system. So I'm going to go with him because been on such a tear. He sat recently, and I was watching the broadcast, and he was very annoyed that they made him sit because he wants to play. So they have two more games, both at home, I believe. So I think they want to give the fans all the Wemby they can get. So it's our last chance to pick him. But more importantly, just the last 6 games, he's been ridiculous. He's averaging over 6 with a 4-2, and versus Denver, 3 games versus Denver, over 8 blocks and steals. Denver, I originally had an over for Jamal Murray PRA, but all the starting lineup for Denver is game time decision. I think that they are assuming that that they could probably get that 1 seed. We'll see if they rest anybody, but people are expecting this to be kind of get out of the hand. So that's why I was scared off by the Denver overs.
Question in the chat about Jokic. We have projected for 24.7 points. Feels a little low potentially against the
These
Spurs.
are all game time decision results. Earlier
I think.
today, we had projections over for him and Murray,
Okay.
but without knowing if he's going to play or not, I didn't want to go with that.
That's fair. Okay, so that's more of that makes sense.
Yeah.
Want to clear the air there. Okay, let's head on
Trey
to.
Jones.
Oh yeah, Trey Jones.
Yeah, we do have one. We have 1.7 turnovers. I don't know what the juice is on 1.5. I could quickly try to look it up if
I can look it up.
Yeah, this is not necessarily the best price, but what we have here is minus 128. That seems you probably find it at minus 120, minus 115 somewhere.
Okay, let's go to Atlanta headed to Minnesota here. Minnesota steaming to 14-point home favorites in this game. Something we're familiar with here. We're going back to Mike Conley, rebounds.
Yeah, he's my other one last chance. So I don't think I think I got my first time this worked. The whole plus money on a line that's well under their season average. And then it just imprinted me that it's a good strategy with Mike Conley, and it's actually not worked, I think, at least 2 times in a row, maybe 3 times in a row. So this is one more chance for Conley to deliver on this on 3 measly rebounds. I am fading
before the playoff.
I'm a very forgiving person. I've forgotten the last 2. Fool me once, shame on me. You fool me 3 times. 4 times, 5 times, shame on me. So anyway, but yeah, one last chance. This is it. I just got to try.
Fair. This is it. This is your last push before playoffs. If you want to make the playoff cut for our player props, this is what you get.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to Milwaukee, headed to OKC. No Dame, no Giannis here. So OKC 15-point home favorites here. You're playing with fire in my head here going to Chet because it keeps making so much sense that Chet should hit some overs, and then he just isn't.
Well, last game, he was well on his way. He had like 7 points in the first quarter, and then he basically didn't play in the second half because he landed awkwardly, but he wasn't hurt. But then they were up by like 30 points in the first half against San Antonio. So, but I looked at it, and he's another player. He's really proud of the fact that he's durable, and because the concern with him after he missed his rookie year was that he's frail and couldn't play a full season. So he wanted to play all 82 games, and he could. think he was kind of aggravated. Every time he's played a few minutes, he's bounced back with a heavier minute game, significantly heavier. He had an 18-minute game with just 2 points, with 28 then 20 the next game. He had a 22-minute and 8-point game followed by 35 and 15 points. So I couldn't, every time he had a 24-minute or less game, he bounced back with at least 8 more minutes the next game. So I think that OKC, and then Milwaukee, yeah, the model and everyone's going to say they're heavy underdogs, but don't but Bobby Portis can be awesome. I mean, we pointed out before the game, his lines didn't post in time for us to do anything on the show, but we said and then he exploded with 30 and 9 when they convincingly beat Orlando. Orlando was a favorite in that game. He was 14 for 18 from the field. So don't underestimate what guys like him and Lopez and Middleton can do. And then guys, they don't have a true point guard. Even the backup is out. But, they got a bunch of guys who can get hot from three.
Right.
Patrick Beverly plays defense that Dame doesn't play. And even Beverly can get hot from three. I mean, there was maybe 2 seasons ago when he shot 40% from three. He was 3 for 3
warming
for 3
up for a playoff Pat Bev. You never know what he's going to start doing right now. Okay, just to clarify, if Jokic does play tonight, we would lean his overs. Like we would support the over situation.
If he plays 33 minutes, then we like the over.
Cool. All right. I see Mike's on Embiid points over. We are also on Embiid points over. Gave that out earlier. So glad to be in agreement there. We'll head on over to Toronto, heading down here to South Florida, Miami. Miami 14.5-point home favorites here. Going back to an old faithful here. A lot of injuries, but definitely should be a spot for our guy, Kelly Olynyk. Yeah, this is a significantly juiced -204, but that's 60-something odd percent implied. He comes in, he obviously was traded from Utah to Toronto, and then Toronto had a bunch of injuries. So as a starter, the over 16-6 basically since the All-Star break. The 2 shooting guards on the depth chart, Gary Trent and Bruce Brown, are both game time decisions, so they might need more 3-point shooting. Small sample size with centers, but centers who average 1.5 to 1 made 3. They average just 0.3 at home versus Miami, but 3 games they average 0.7 at Miami. Love to see that percentage there. That's a strong 70%.
Which is what he himself has done versus Miami.
True. This is true.
Mystical. Yeah, that's a sign.
Yeah. Let's head on over to Detroit, going to Dallas here. We're taking Doncic. We usually aren't taking the big stars like this, but we got a few today.
Yeah, but one question to RJ Barrett. We don't project over 19, but I think he could. I mean, he's, when he plays, he seems to get plenty of shots. But I was surprised the model didn't like RJ Barrett over 19.5 points when I checked it this morning. Yeah, we like Luka, but I'm going to go with his blocks and steals. Again, I'm maybe taking an easy way out. Pretty heavy, -179. Models at over 2. He does have a slightly higher home split. He's got a strong 8-5 his last month, even though his average is only 1.6. He's only had 1 block or steal the last 2 games, but prior to that, he was on a nice 7-1 run. Kyrie is out, so he might need to be on the court a little bit longer than you ordinarily might have to versus Detroit. And in recent history versus Detroit, he's averaged 3.3 blocks and steals, 3 games, all over.
Bang. We love a block and steal prop on the show. That is for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to Houston, going to Portland here. Back to Scoot Henderson, looking at 5.5 turnovers is his line.
Yeah, so I'm taking the under. Yeah, so I'm going under.
Only at -130 too.
Yeah, I'm taking the under.
I know, but like,
yeah, that's not bad. Yeah, 5.5 is crazy, right? Well, it's because he has 9 and 8 his last 2 games, so he's.
Oh my god!
Yeah, that's a lot of Chris Paul, for years was like 10 assists and like 2 turnovers under 2. So we only have him at 4 turnovers. So the line is actually based on this ridiculous. Yeah, 9 and 8 last 2 games, last 7 games, or last 8 games, he's averaging over 6. But I just think he's due to have a decent human-like turnover game. with 5. You know,
Yeah,
I,
like
I
that would be impressive to have 3 games in a row, upwards of 8.
yeah. At a certain point, the coaching staff's going to be like, "Hey, dude, you know, it's
They might
like."
just, like, sit him, which could help us, like
Well, he's been scoring well, and he's been playing with confidence, which wasn't the case all season. Like, so he's been putting up. I mean, he's not shooting great, just but at a certain point, you know, Aiton's been playing very well. So you would think that they would just walk it up and dump it off to him more, and not, you know, I'm almost scared to watch how he plays with that kind of turnover rate.
okay. Sounds good. We got 3 more games to get through here. Let's go over to New Orleans, headed to Golden State. A few of our favorite players here. Trey Murphy definitely playing, but we're just gonna take the New Orleans spread.
Picks this year, the last 3 years in the NBA have been over 60% are, are A-rated ones on Sportsline. And saw New Orleans last night, very impressive against Sacramento. I'm falling back in love with Zion after he made me mad for the last 2 seasons with weight issues. I feel like sometimes that's a horrible thing to say, probably. But yeah, we have 65% chance to cover. The Pelicans are awesome on the road. They're better on the road than they are at home, and they're better on the road than Golden State is at home, which is kind of an odd thing. The great thing about New Orleans is they have great 3-point shooting, but also size, right? With guys like Trey Murphy, so they have the defenders who can also hit the threes. They're shooting 39% from 3 on the road. The Warriors are allowing 37%, which is a massive amount higher than the 33% last season. And I think Draymond and Clay are still game time decisions, so the defense might be even worse than it normally is.
We love to see that. We love to see that. And then what are they playing for, like, seed-wise, the Pelicans?
Well, I mean, Golden State is
I guess they're
playing to
both playing
get.
hard.
Golden State might have a chance to get. I think they have an outside chance to get in the 8-9 spot, and at the very least, they want to have home court advantage. Although I thought they might be better playing at LA in a 9-10 matchup. And then the Pelicans, yeah, Pelicans are 1 game up on Phoenix for the 6th spot to avoid the play in.
Okay, yeah. So we're playing hard basketball for 4 quarters. That's all we need
Yeah.
to know from a betting perspective here.
Yeah, and yeah, New Orleans played really well against Sacramento last night, and they both played last game. They've both actually been pretty good against the spread with 0 days rest. But like
Mhm.
I said, Golden State the whole season has just been struggling at home, and they actually struggled against a weak Portland team.
Yeah.
Imagine if probably wouldn't have won if Scoot had turned it over 6 times instead of 9.
That is still crazy to me. I don't think I watch enough Scoop basketball, clearly, to have, noticed the situation, but that is
Because we
wild.
were coming off the NCAA tournament, we are talking about, oh, UConn had 7 turnovers in 2 games,
Yeah, we're
you
used to,
know,
like, college.
and
Yeah.
yeah, and say Scoot. Whew.
Yeah. Alright, let's go over to the Clippers. We got 2 games left. The Clippers hosting Utah here.
Yeah.
Utah was kind of thrown in the towel here. The Clippers, so getting a little bit of steam. Kawhi, what's his situation here? Is he
I
playing?
just want to point out this player doesn't have a name. That's the
Oh,
player formerly known as Taylor Hendricks.
yeah,
We're
yeah. Whoever that
never going
is.
to use him again. I think this ticked off. This should be minus 115, I believe. Um, I don't think you get plus money on it, but I like Zubac over 12.5. The model is just a slight lean over that, so it's not really great value. But and I'm fading the season trend. But the home trend, even though it's not over 50% over, it is significantly higher points at home. He's coming in hot with a 5-2 over stretch with a 15-point average. Mostly, and also the Jazz front court is depleted, right? They're three Collins, Mark, and then I believe Collins is out.
They're all just yeah.
And Kessler and
Yeah, yeah.
everybody else. So Yurtseven is an okay scorer and rebounder, but he's not a great shot blocker, despite his size. And so I kind of like Zubac's activity around the basket. I'll probably know early because he tends to score a lot in the first quarter if he's going to score a lot.
There we go. Maybe hit a little first quarter prop out there for those who can get those. They are out there.
Yeah, it's too tricky.
Yeah, too much. All right,
Yeah.
last game here. Looking at Phoenix headed to Sacramento here. A lot of steam on Phoenix in this spot. Sacramento not great against the spread at home. Nonetheless, we're going to take a look at a player prop.
Yeah, so Harrison Barnes, 3.5 rebounds plus assists of minus 150. Like, he should be ashamed of himself that his line is this low, because he's a 6'8", 6'7" athletic dude, getting around 30 minutes, former high school player of the year. You know, he should be his rebound line should be 5.5.
Mhm.
This line, if he's given his pedigree, he should have been 7.5. So yeah, this is shameful.
Yeah.
Also, Sacramento, they're too dependent on Sabonis. So when Sabonis doesn't get 20 rebounds, they get killed. Like last night, they had a tough time against the Pelicans on the boards.
Mhm.
But Barnes did, I think, snap out of his. He's been playing pretty poorly, not shooting well, but he snapped out. He hit a few threes. And again, Herder and Malik Monk are out. So I'm just expecting Barnes, regardless, he's going to be on the court for the 30 minutes
Mhm.
and just the ball bouncing his way and just, you know, swinging the ball down, dumping it back
Yeah,
out to someone
literally
or, you
accidentally
know,
getting here.
yeah. It's like, I feel like three should happen without even trying. And then a
Yeah.
little bit of fire, a little bit of coaching, a little bit of, hey, Harrison, why don't you use that 6'8", 220-pound
Yeah,
frame to
his coaches
grab
should
a
show
board?
him this line as a motivation. Be like, "Dude, look what
Yeah.
Vegas thinks of you. This is
Well,
embarrassing."
last year he averaged right under 6 and he was 71-18 over
Mhm.
this. That's, so what happened? What would make
Yeah,
it so that, such a low expectations?
yeah. All right, yeah. I was looking for him here. You can still find 3.5s on the books around -150. Obviously, all of these are subject to change, but still seems to be there from what I see. Let's
Yeah.
take a look at the recap screen here. Lots of player props. Again, this is our last NBA regular season prop show. This is a little sad, but we're going out good. We've had a strong past few weeks, strong week this week. Going out well. Even there's some juice on the board. If you've been following all along, then you should feel all right with some of the juice that we're laying here.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, next week we'll start to get into the play-in previews. Once we have the model all figured out, we'll find the value immediately, get it out to you guys Monday. It's going to be awesome. Again, we'll continue to sprinkle in some baseball as well. But with that said, happy Friday. I hope everyone makes some money, hit some bets to pay for the drinks this weekend, and we will see you guys Monday.